Welcome back to Season 1, Episode 9, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. On this podcast today, we're going to be talking about, should you stay after your partner cheated? Why should you stay after your partner cheated? There is no right or wrong to this question. Many people may say, once a person cheats, I am gone. Is it possible to rebuild your relationship knowing your partner has betrayed you? I will provide you with helpful information to guide you in making that decision, but it all boils down to what is best for you. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about, should you stay after your partner cheated? One disclaimer I want to put, because we can add a lot of what ifs to this question or the situation that you're presented with. If you are experiencing any type of abuse, whether it be physical, sexual, financial, emotional, please separate what we're about to discuss today from that, because that is a whole different body of information that needs to be provided to you. I don't categorize cheating under abuse. Cheating is a negative behavior that someone does, and there are the negatives that you may associate with emotional abuse may be very similar to cheating. But when you are being emotional abused, normally that person is trying to gain power over you in some shape or form. And cheating is not the same thing, even though the negative feelings might be similar. So I just want to put that out there first, because we can definitely have a lot of what ifs when we continue this discussion later. So if we're just dealing with simple cheating, that's the advice I'm going to provide today. The first question that we're going to ask is, do what is best for you. And the reason that I say that is, and I'm always very transparent about my own situation. And even present day, after I've gone through an extensive amount of healing and self-therapy and also therapy, I've come to the realization, number one, is I don't create this thought in my head that I'm going to be with my partner forever. There was a point in time where, oh my God, we're going to grow old together. We're going to be together forever. I can't see myself with anybody else. Now, that's not the case. The reality is even if this man didn't cheated, there's no such thing as forever. We want to wish for forever. We pray for forever, but that's not reality, because something can happen to him. It could be car accident, and I'm not thinking of that, but I'm just saying any situation can be presented to us, because the days aren't promised to us. Every day we wake up, we just need to thank God that we woke up to see a new day, so we don't know what the next day holds. So the way I used to think, I don't think like that anymore. And it has more to do with just the crisis that I went through. My life is my life now, and I appreciate it. And we are together now in this relationship, and we're making the best of it. But I don't know what 5 years holds from now. I don't know what 10 years holds for now for us. I don't know if we're going to be together forever. If we are, it will be a great blessing, but that's something I cannot answer concretely. And that goes the same for someone else. When someone has cheated on you, number one, you need to do what's best for you, but you also need to remember you don't want to make decisions based off of emotions that you're experiencing. Happy emotions, sad emotions, or angry emotions. Do not make decisions based off of those emotions, because they are premature decisions being made. When you are in a level-headed level-headed point in your life, and I shouldn't even say life. I guess what's the best way I should describe? I shouldn't even say level-headed. I don't like saying it in that way.
I think it's more when you've had time to process what's happened and you're not reacting out of emotion, like you said, and making a premature decision, then you can make an actual decision once you've come down off of all of the emotions.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Kira, because
you have to process it first.
You do.
In the moment, you're angry, you're sad, you're so many different things. You can't possibly make a rational decision right then. Mm-hmm. You have to give yourself time to process it and to think clearly and to ponder and to, use wisdom to decide what you want to do.
Exactly. And the truth is, no one can answer that question for you.
Yeah.
Your friends may tell you you need to leave that bastard, or you need to leave her. She's a slut. All types of words are going to be thrown in the air about your partner. But ultimately, it is not anyone's decision to provide you the validation that you want. Rather, you should stay with this person or not. You are the only one that can make that decision on what is best for you. No one knows what's best for you but you. And because you've experienced this crisis in your relationship, such as cheating, it doesn't mean the person is a terrible person. Remember, cheating is a negative behavior. So you have to also understand, is this person remorseful? Are they going to do the things that need to be done to make changes to strengthen your relationship to what it used to be? Because at some point in time, there was a disconnect in the relationship, and the job of you two and God included in that is trying to figure out, where did that disconnect happen? Was it maybe how you started speaking to him, or how you started treating him or her, him or her, that made the person just slowly start taking steps away until they were so far away that someone else was now getting their attention? And that's how it starts. It's baby steps. So you guys are standing next together, hand in hand, and then there's some type of situation going on in your relationship. Someone is now taking little baby steps, just baby steps. The hand now has let go, and you're still looking at each other, but your partner is getting further and further away, and you're looking at each other like, what's going on? What's going on? And it's just, we have to figure out what caused that. And these are conversations a lot of times I feel like couples don't want to have. And that's the problem because, when I think about that, how sometimes there are certain things when you meet a new person, you're fearful in talking about because you don't want them to think you're crazy. Like, oh, I don't want to talk about marriage just yet, or I don't want to talk about kids, or no, finances. He don't need to be all in my business, or I don't need to be in his business. I'm independent.
For sure.
If you're going to be cohabitating together, I need to know how the money is going to be flowing.
I always believe that there is a catalyst that happens before cheating. There is always something that leads up to it, like you're saying, the baby steps of stepping away. But I feel like it is usually something that has not been said on both sides. I don't believe that 90% of the time it's actually verbally acknowledged that there's an issue. I think people just hope it'll go away or it'll get better. And instead of vocalizing the issue, something happens. And it's like that catalyst to be like, whatever, I'm over it. I'm just going to do this or go over there. Instead of dealing with the situation at home and talking to the person that's on the other side of it. I think a lot of times what happens is we start venting to other people about our partners. And then it crosses into the line of when it's inappropriate. And then it crosses another line. Infidelity is wrong for any person to do in any kind of relationship, whether you're married or not.
Infidelity takes work. And as you said, it's
lack of.
Exactly. Or lack of. And it's trying to figure out, where did that break take place? Mm-hmm. And when you are in that down moment in your life, you don't want to have these down conversations. So outside of home, the second place that people are at majority of the time is work. Mm-hmm. So, you see someone at work, you're having a conversation with them. And at that moment, you're not talking about bills. You're not talking about kids. You're not talking about this needs to be fixed in the house. You're not talking about all the adult conversations that happen behind closed doors that aren't all fluffy. So
it's all to feed your ego.
Exactly.
To talk to someone who's going to make you feel good about yourself because you don't feel good at home for whatever reason. There are many, many reasons.
Because I remember
that's how it starts.
I remember what he said to me when I asked him why. And his response, even to this day, because I didn't argue with her.
Well, you don't live with her every day. I mean,
you don't.
Obviously.
And we know. And, that's that response is infamous. Just like cheating is infamous, that response is infamous because I don't argue with her. Of course, what do you have to argue about with her? You don't pay any bills with her. You see her at work, so when
it's a fairy tale.
It's
a fairy tale.
Break together or whatever it is, how y'all meet up. Of course, conversation's gonna be juicy.
Right. It's your fairy tale on the side.
And that's how it starts. Now you done had this great conversation with this person and you coming home at work and I'm presenting to you, well, you know what? PSE&G, water, and Comcast has to be paid. So, it's due this day, this day, this day. Of course. So, that's how those baby steps start. Now you just had this wonderful conversation and I'm coming home and I'm throwing bills at you.
Right.
You're going to pick your battles. And you're not going to want to deal with the bills or talk about that because that's not what you want to talk about. You want to talk about the fairy tale stuff.
I definitely think if someone ever finds themselves in a situation where they've been cheated on, as both of us have been, and have also been like the betrayer, I call it, the person who has cheated too. I think that there's definitely, it is definitely an individual decision about whether or not you want to stay. Every situation and all of the circumstances surrounding it are going to be different. I always feel like people who serial cheat, I wouldn't stay in a relationship with someone who is a serial cheater, meaning that they continuously cheat on this person multiple times with different people or with the same person, multiple, like over and over and over. For me, that's a no-go. If it's a one-time thing, if it's something you feel very remorseful about, maybe it's something I can forgive you for. Maybe not. I'm still working through my own stuff right now. But right. I just feel like it's so individual to the person and how they feel and what's going on in their relationship. If they can identify maybe what happened and why that person sought someone else out in the beginning, they can maybe take ownership of the accountability for themselves. Like, well, I contributed to this in this way. And not saying that when you get cheated on, it's your fault, but just actually recognizing that there might be something that happened in your relationship that caused your partner to not feel loved or to not feel affirmed or et cetera, or they just have their own personal issues that they need to work out. And it has absolutely nothing to do with you. There's a lot of different scenarios. But at the end of it, it's all about what the individual person wants to do. And we're not telling you to stay or to go. You have to do what's best for you.
That is correct. You have to do what's best for you. And whatever your decision is going to be, as Kira and I always say, don't allow worldly people to make you feel bad about whatever your decision is. Because remember, whatever your decision is, it is your decision. It doesn't matter what Kira thinks. It doesn't matter what Shirley thinks. It doesn't matter what anybody in your life thinks about your decision. It is truly not for them to understand why. It's only for them to respect your decision.
It's only for them to respect. And your role too, going forward, like in this now different relationship that has gone through this terrible thing, is when we have these forgiveness episodes and we talk about forgiveness of self and forgiveness of others, when you go back into it, you have to go back with the attitude that you have forgiven them. Because if you go back and you allow them to be in your life and you have not forgiven them, it's going to be a very painful process for both of you to get to a point of healing and reconciliation if you really haven't forgiven them. So that's my
Absolutely.
only caution to taking the person back or going back, is make sure you've really forgiven them. Make sure your heart posture is right, that you're not holding any grudges against them for what happened, and you're ready to move forward and you're ready to have this clean slate. Because if you don't, you're in for a whole world of hurt.
Absolutely. And that goes into the next question that we have is, why is setting boundaries important at this point? If you get to the point now, you've decided, the two of you have decided that you are going to work it out. As Kira just said, forgiveness is important. The one episode we did about self-forgiveness, you have to, number one, forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to realize that even though everyone plays a role, every single party plays a role, you, your partner, and the person now they have brought into your relationship, everyone plays a role, but do not beat yourself up. It's a matter of figuring out, where did we start losing each other? Two different things. So please don't think we're saying, well, she tells us not to beat each other up, but then she says that all of us play a role. Don't confuse what I'm trying to say. We need to take accountability for our actions, because at some point in time there was a disconnect in your relationship, but don't beat yourself up for it. And what I mean by that, don't say, well, maybe because I didn't clean every night as he wanted to, or maybe because I didn't cook dinner at night, or maybe because she asked me for a foot rub and I didn't give it. These are just some examples. These are not the things that you should be saying. Change your wording, change your mindset. Where did I stop paying attention? How could I have maybe, been more in tuned with my relationship? Did I not pay attention to his love language? Do I know what his love language is? It's just, you have to change your wording and the types of questions you're saying to yourself. Don't ask yourself questions of, why didn't I? How could I have done something different? It's all about the wording. And once you start saying, it's kind of like if you are constantly calling yourself a failure or calling yourself stupid, ultimately you're going to believe it. So it's your choice of words, be mindful of them. But to go back to what I was saying about setting the boundaries, now that you've gotten to the point where you two have made the decision, you're going to move forward and try to work it out. Boundaries are important. And when I say boundaries, I'm not talking about anything ludicrous. I'm talking about civil boundaries that make sense. It could be something as, he or she may ask you to not be friends with that person on social media. He or she may ask you to change your phone number. He or she may ask you to go to therapy. These are the smaller things that your partner may ask you to do. It may be, it could be anything. You need to be mindful of these requests at this time, and don't have this narcissistic attitude that you think you're above anybody and you don't have to make these requests. And remember, we're talking about rational requests, not anything too crazy. So these boundaries are going to be important for each of you to respect, because if I ask you, please don't follow that person, what's so difficult about doing that?
I think the boundaries have to be boundaries that are going to improve the relationship, that are going to improve my trust in you, that are all going to have a positive effect. I wouldn't ask you to do something after you've cheated on me that's going to have a negative effect on our relationship. Because if I'm saying I want it to be better, so if I'm asking you not to follow the person on social media, to change your phone number, to make yourself unavailable, I think those are all reasonable requests and reasonable boundaries to set if you want to get the relationship back to a better place. Very reasonable. And I also want to comment on, let's go into a little deeper about if the situation happens at work when it comes to boundaries, because with me, it happened at work. Mm-hmm. So at the time, we were in a financial situation where he couldn't just leave his job, Kira. Mm-hmm.
I didn't make enough money at the time to pay for everything,
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say my situation is so unique and I'm still learning every day
Like,
because,
how do you navigate that? So the person that you're with cheated on you with someone at work, and then they still have to go to work and sit with them
and that's the
or see
question.
them.
How do you navigate that? Even though they may not work in the same department, but they have
Right.
easy access to each other.
Right.
And that's why I'm saying trust yourself, because I had to be in a place that I was ready to be accepting of the fact that Khalif was still working at the same job with the person that he
That's
cheated
hard,
on me with.
Shirley.
It's
That's so
extremely
hard.
hard, you know?
That's
So
so hard.
it is hard. So be rational about your decisions, because if you're not in a healing place,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be ruthless.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be absolutely ruthless. And, I'm not going to lie to you on here. When someone betrays your trust in any way, for this podcast, it's simply cheating, but rather it's financial or whatever it may be, it's hard to regain that trust again. But it goes back to saying that it's because we set the bar so high from the beginning. We set the bar at 100%. I had nothing to go by. So, young little Shirley, I've already set the bar. I don't even know the guy, but he already at 100%.
This is so tough, because it's also like, for me, I had an expectation because I felt like, I know that I'm not going to do this, right? I'm married. I'm not going to do this. And my expectation was that my husband would think the same. My assumption was that my husband would think the same. So when things didn't turn out the way that I thought that they were going to, of course, it's like soul crushing, because I'm like, why did you not meet my expectations? Does that make sense?
It definitely makes sense. And it brings me back to, remember it was either episode 7 or 6. Mm-hmm. You made a good point, because remember I told you the reason I don't post pictures of Khalif and myself is because I don't want to create this illusion to people that everything's all okay and great. Mm-hmm. And, and we were talking about the happy post, and then you made the comment of, but people don't post the negative because no one wants to see the negative. I bring that up to say, we never want to talk about the what ifs in our relationship. We always want to keep the conversation positive. We always want to focus on the good. But truth of the matter is, we are human beings and we are prone to error, and we don't know when that error is going to take place. And when it does take place, it is absolutely freaking crushing. Why don't people talk about, honey, is it possible that you could ever cheat on me? And if you did, how would we handle that? Why don't we as adults start having these conversations?
But Shirley, if we were to realistically have this conversation, there is no guarantee that what I said on how I would behave in that conversation is actually going to happen when it actually happens to me. I can sit there and have this conversation with you and be like, well, let's discuss what might happen if you cheated, and how would I feel about it? I would probably feel very hurt. I would probably feel very angry. Would I kick you out? Would you have to leave? Oh, no, we would work through it. We're going to go to counseling. We're going to do all this stuff. And then when it actually happens to me, it's completely different. Because now I want to kick you out. I don't want to see your face. I don't want to go to counseling with you right now. It's like, we can have that conversation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that when it actually comes to fruition, if it does, I mean, I hope that people have the conversation and it doesn't happen. But if it doesn't, it's totally different. Then how do you navigate that? Like, well, you said when we talked about it, you were going to do X, Y, Z, but you never know what you're going to do in that situation until you're actually in it.
You don't know what you're going to do in that situation when you're actually in it. But I disagree because I think the conversation should take place. And you're right. And I have an example for you.
I agree. It could take place.
I was the one. I remember when I was younger. Oh my God. Every chance I got, I told Khalif, if you get somebody pregnant, I'm gone. Kira.
There are power in your words. So I'm telling you.
I am a prime example of what you said, that what I tell you may not be what happens. Mm-hmm. So I get what you're saying, but the conversation should take place. Now, the way I handled it was inappropriate because it was just something I was just throwing out there. Mm-hmm. But I still believe that the conversation should take place. If we can talk about bills, when we're going to have children, when our next vacation is going to be, we should get down and talk about the nitty gritty.
I agree with that. Mm-hmm. I do.
Why should we talk about it when it happens, when we're in such a hurt place? We are so angry, we're sad, filled with emotions. And that's when we're going to talk about it, Kira?
Yeah. Well, you have to at that point.
At that point, you got to.
Yeah. I think it's good to bring up. I do. I think if you're dating and if you're in a relationship with someone, I think it is good to bring up. But I also think it's important to be realistic and know that whatever you're discussing may not be actually how you're going to react. Even though if that's what you want to do, once you're in that situation, sometimes all that crap goes out the window because you're emotional.
Yeah. And it's just a conversation people don't want to have. You know it, Kira. Can you imagine having a conversation with your husband about, honey, if I was to cheat? The first of all that you said, honey, if I was to cheat, would leave his mind because he would completely change the words around and think, so you telling me you thinking about sleeping with another man? The whole thing would be switched. And we already know how it is. We completely would reconfigure those words in our mind, and what the person said is not what we would be thinking, because what man wants to think about their woman cheating on them early on before it even happens? None.
I can't. It's so funny because I'm trying to sit here and think, like, had I had that conversation, would it have prevented it?
I don't think it would have prevented it because you see, none of these things are preventive measures. Mm-hmm. None of them. None of them. We're giving advice based off of our own experiences.
Right.
And we're being advocates to other women out there. The underlying purpose of us providing this podcast and sharing our own experiences is to let women know that you can still regain your life, relive your life, and have a beautiful life after. Just be mindful of your decisions moving forward. Even, both before you start dating, while you're dating, and after, regardless what ends up happening. So I don't feel like there's any preventive measure in any of this. I don't.
So either.
Even now in my relationship, I'm so transparent now. I don't know what next year holds. Do I know if I'm going to be with this man next year? Only God has that answer, not me. I can't answer that because I don't know where life is taking me day by day. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I get ready. I'm a mom, I'm his lady, I'm in the house, we're doing our family thing. I don't know what the next day is going to hold. I just know now my mindset is thinking, it's Shirley, it's God, it's my family. Mm-hmm. The order is not what it used to be because I already shared with everybody how backwards that crap was. Mm-hmm. So I'm living my best life now. Even through what happens, through my situation, I still love life. Mm-hmm. And there is so much more I'm willing to do out here. Like, I'm not done. So I can't allow my relationship to cripple me, and I can't cripple my mindset and keep on, I'm going to be with him forever. You know, at one point, I used to be mad at J-Lo because she went from guy to guy to guy. Honey, I ain't mad at her now. Do your thing. You know, because she gets talked about often. Oh, she a little slut. She just sleeping with this, sleeping with that, sleeping with this. How does she even have
She's trying to
time?
find love.
She's just doing her thing. And you know what? I ain't even mad at her. You ain't happy, girl? J-Lo be gone. Gone. I'm gone. She on to the next one, and it doesn't stop her. And she's just living her best life as she's doing it. But that takes maturity, Kira, because I didn't always think like that.
It does. I definitely think that the whole we're going to be together forever thing is different for me because I have made a covenant before God that is what I said, that it will be forever. That's what it is. So my mindset is different as far as when I got married. Yeah, I thought it was going to be forever. After I have been through some things, I have to consciously work at that thought process, whether I want it to be forever. And it's one of those things where I feel like there's power in your thinking and there's power in your words. And it's like, okay, I married this person. I believe deep down that they're a good person, but they've made some mistakes. And I'm forgiving them. And we are going to get through this. And we are going to be together for a long time. Zaire is going to have both of his parents in the house. And we are going to grow together. It's almost like affirmations I have to say to myself. And sometimes say out loud. For it to manifest is how I feel. Because in my emotion, I don't always feel that way. Or that I want it to be that way. But I have to go back and remember the covenant that I made before God, that I'm in this marriage, you know? And that's a hard part too, because I feel like sometimes it's a lot of pressure to maintain that. And to not feel like a failure if I got a divorce, or feel like I am dishonoring God or whatever if I didn't want it to last. But for me, even though the place I'm in today is unknown, I still feel like when I came into it, it was for forever, because that was why I got married. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. I would have just continued to date. For me.
For you.
Mm-hmm.
And there are women out there that do have that thinking, and it's not wrong. But you know, although I am a woman of faith, I guess I have my own beliefs when it comes to marriage. And I believe in it. I'm not against it. Even if Khalif and I were married, it wouldn't bother me to have a divorce. So I wouldn't feel, I guess, as troubled as you are.
I think too, for me, like my parents were divorced, and I'm like in that mindset where I want to break that generational curse. And my dad's parents were divorced. So it's like, I don't want to be that next generation that gets divorced, you know? I don't want to be a contributor to that curse. I want that curse to be broken, and I want my son to have a happy marriage and happy relationships. And so my thing is like, well, if I stick this out and I try to fix it and I try to get us back, then maybe I can break this curse, right? So it's all these different...
It's interesting that you bring that up.
Avenues of that make me feel like, okay, I need to really work at it. But I always think about your final question. I always think about it, which is like, will my partner cheat again? So we've been through all of this hell and back, and then we get everything back better, maybe even better than it was before. And then what, in 5 years you do it again? For me, that's a hard question to ask. And I don't have the answer to it because there's no way for me to know.
There is no answer to it, and there is no way to know. Even to this day, I will still be asked, will he cheat again? And even till this day,
you don't know.
I wish I can truly answer that question, but I cannot answer a question such as that for another human being. Can I answer it for myself because I was a perpetrator? And I can definitely tell you, Kira, you never say never. But the experience that I went through, I didn't like it. It doesn't put me in a happy place. And I will do everything in my power to avoid it because it brought me no satisfaction at all. I can answer the question for myself if I would cheat again. I cannot answer the question for my partner. And when you ask someone that question, they can really never give you a concrete answer. They may say, no, he won't. He know better than to do it. Or no, she won't. They know better than to do it. I mean, yes, you can give that strong response all you want, but you really don't know. That's the underlying thing. You really don't know.
I mean, that's what my therapist told me. Like, she was like, Kira, there is no possible way for you to know what any human being on this entire planet is doing at any given time, including your husband. No matter how much tracking you have on him, where you think he is, where the phone says he is, you don't know what he's doing. So just get it out of your head. Stop thinking about all the what ifs and just live in what's happening now. And that was really helpful for me because she was right. Like, why stress myself out about all of this stuff or how long it takes you to do this and come back from this and how long you've been on the phone or XYZ. I will never know what he's doing. He will never know what I'm doing.
You're right. And the therapist is right. And that's good advice that she could give. And, you know, that therapist that you were seeing, she seems to be very, just very real. She tells it to you just like it is at the door, which is good. There's no way of knowing. No one can give you that answer. You can't even give yourself that answer. Only you as an individual know. Because I do believe you know. You know. You get to a place in your life where you know. You know. So, you know, don't ask people, do you think she gonna do it again? Do you think he gonna do it again? They don't know. They don't know.
It's almost a setup for failure question. It's like
it's a setup.
No one can answer that question.
For all those negative thoughts to come popping up because, you know, as soon as that conversation over, you know what's going to happen because you know what the brain does. Girl, what you think? Have you thought about this again? Do you think they going to do it again? You know, it goes into your mind. But like you said, it's all about manifesting. It's all about manifesting. But the underlying importance we do want you guys to take away through these 3 questions that we ask is whatever decision you decide, whether it's to stay or to leave, be confident in your decision and be mindful moving forward. And when I say be mindful, I'm not talking about FBI or detective work, ladies. Okay.
We're talking about moving in forgiveness and walking in the forgiveness that you say that you have.
Yes, because we've all been there. Shirley will raise her hand up. I've been the FBI. I've been the detective. And be mindful of your behavior. And I like to use myself as an example because Khalif and I used to have a phone plan together. I cut that off real quick because I wanted to separate that space. So I didn't have a reason to check this guy's phone call because my peace is also important. And who's in control of Shirley's peace? Shirley is. So I need to do whatever I need to do to maintain my sanity.
Right.
So we don't have a phone line together anymore. He has his plan. I have my plan. And it's been beautiful ever since. I don't need to see what you're doing because all ugly comes out into the dark.
Comes out into the light.
Comes out into the light. Thank you, Kira. My other The other person is correcting me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All
But
that
it's
ugly
true.
will come out to the light.
You don't have to dig because eventually it will all come out. It always does.
It does.
It always does.
It
And
does.
like for me, I have always been taught to say this prayer that I ask God to reveal stuff to me that I need to know about any given situation. And it has never failed me. Things have always come out. So why stress myself and take away my own peace, like you're saying, by trying to investigate and do this? And no.
Yeah, it's not worth it. So be mindful of all the investigation work and all the energy that you're exhorting
into that.
Your peace begins with you. If there is something that is extremely making you uncomfortable, if you have the capability to control it, control it. When I chose to separate the phone plans, yeah, you might say, oh my gosh, you can't see what he's doing anymore, Shirley. But if I have to do that, that's not good. That is not good to have to do those things in a relationship. We've all been there. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but you need to really ask yourself, if we have the same phone plan together and it's making me like have anxiety and hyperventilate because I got to go in and check to see what his last calls were within the last 72 hours, girl, release that and let it go.
Right.
Separate the plans. If this man still wants to be with you, or if this woman still wants to be with you, that's not going to stop your relationship.
Right.
It's just not. Because when y'all met, y'all had separate plans. So come on now, wake up. Wake up. Y'all didn't have plans together when y'all met. Y'all had separate plans. At some point in the relationship, y'all thought it was a great idea to combine them. Maybe to save money. To save the money. All right, so we're going to get ready to wrap it up. We're going to do a quick review. Number one question was, do what is best for you. Stay confident with whatever you decide. Just remember that there is no concrete answer to this. I do not have the answer. Kira do not have the answer. There are numerous people who write books out there. They don't have the answer. It's all guidance. Validity begins with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to feel confident about the choice you're making, whether you want to stay or not. If you do want to stay, hold your head up high. Remember, don't judge somebody by their past. Forgive and start working towards a better and stronger relationship. There is life after cheating. Your life doesn't have to stop right there. 2, why is setting boundaries important? Because it is going to help re-strengthen that relationship. The boundaries do not have to be forever. They don't. But if your significant other, if your spouse, if your partner needs these boundaries, be open to them, be respectful of them, and be mindful. We don't want to do any crazy boundaries. If we don't do nothing extreme and end up on investigation discovery when we talk about boundaries, realistic, reasonable boundaries, people. Last is, will my partner cheat again? Stop asking people that question. Just stop. No one knows. I cannot answer a question for what somebody else is going to do. I just don't know. I wish I knew. So just don't ask the person a question of, do you think they're going to cheat again? Because they really don't know. Just like you don't know, they don't know. We always want to thank you guys for listening. And as always, voice yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Until next podcast. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.